Work in the transfer center. So actually now my latest gig is doing the authorizations for the funding accounts for transfer people. You want to sit here?
The Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, published in the Asbury Park Press on January 10, 2017, and revised on March 31st, 2017.
Thanks, Kate. Do you have a roll call, please?
Mayor Coles?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Here.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Here.
Committeeman Dalia?
Here.
Let the record reflect that Committeeman Ackerman is not here.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Open session? So made. Second. Okay. Joe, please rise and salute the flag. Chief, will you lead us in the salute, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we humbly ask thy blessings upon this township committee and all those in authority so that they may serve the people. Look down with mercy on our weakness and stretch forth your divine power to guide us. All this we ask in thy name. Amen.
Can I have a motion for the minutes of the regular executive and workshop session of March 16, 2017? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, first order of business tonight is going to be our police promotions. I have two gentlemen that I've had the pleasure of knowing for many, many years. Chief, if you'd like to start the ceremony. Mayor, if you'd like to join the chief down below as our commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll defer to the police commissioner first. All right, thank you everybody for coming tonight. We're here for a happy occasion. It's not many times that a police chief gets to do happy things, but this is one of my first happy deeds I get to do since taking office in August. So two guys that have been here a long time, good candidates, and I'm happy to be able to do this tonight. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you, and I guess on behalf of the mayor and the township committee and all our professionals in town, we too want to congratulate our two new sergeants so that the chief will be swearing in shortly. And I always make it a point to thank the families of the police officers that are here. You all know that sometimes Lakewood can present the police officer with a challenge when he goes out to work, and as the chief himself knows, having been shot himself in one of our police actions that have been taken, police officers are always putting themselves on the line for us, and we appreciate that. And we always know that when you send your loved ones out to the line of duty for their shift, you hope that they come back safely. We pray for them, and we appreciate that you go through what you go through until they get back from their shift. So we really do appreciate that. And of course, we appreciate our police officers who are out there always to protect and help us.
Thank you.
Patrolman Eric May and Patrolman Daniel Torkowski to come up. Got Patrolman Falon. Come over here. So raise your right hands. Repeat after me. I state your name.
Eric May, Daniel Torkowski.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of New Jersey,
and the state of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
I'm going a short sentence here, to the same and to the governments established
to the same and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority
under the authority
of the people,
of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I'd like to thank the committee making us happy tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Please, guys, we'll get pictures. Come on, please. Guys, we have hats on? Hats on, thanks. Sorry about that.
I was gonna say, you should move over, Alex.
That's okay.
They're gonna crop you out.
You can't go that far.
They're gonna crop, they always crop the guy on
The
the
podium.
Feel free to put it.
Smile. Smile, smile. You're all gonna have weird mouths. Smile.
It's dry now, that's all I get to get speech. Oh, what? We're not done yet. We still need to speak. No. Really, it looks like they have a lot of time tonight.
We're in no rush.
Everybody get their pictures?
Yes.
All right, let's go more outside.
As much as we'd like you all to stay tonight, I think you'd have a much better time if you all went home with everybody and enjoyed yourselves. So thank you very much
Thank
for coming
you.
out here tonight. I'll just take a couple minute recess, so everybody has a chance to leave. Everybody get home safe.
Thank you. You knew who to hand it to, right? Pardon me? I said you knew who to hand it to. The boss. Sign of a married man. Chief Meyer just gave you a education.
Yeah, they want the whole uniform.
We give them the show.
Yeah, that's what I like, give them a show.
What about the hat?
Dave, I'm sorry, Mr.
Different day. Mayor? Okay, at this point in time, I'm going to ask Kathy Sheridan to come to the podium to give us a brief presentation on National Library Week.
I think they saw that the library was gonna be on the agenda and.
And it got quiet.
Thank you for having me here, and I would just, this is a spur of the moment presentation. Next week is National Library Week, where libraries throughout the country, public, private, academic, school, celebrate the fact that there are libraries in the country. Lakewood Library was actually incorporated 124 years ago. Next year's the big 125. There was actually a library even before that when the town was Bricksburg. So it's been a part of the community for a long time. I think most of the people, I can safely say most of the people in the room probably don't know everything that the library has to offer because things have changed so quickly over the last few years. So briefly, I'll just mention some of them. First of all, everyone's welcome to use the library. Everything's free. We'll try to keep that up as long as we can. There's, of course, books and magazines, DVDs, and music. All of them can also be downloaded onto your electronic devices, including your phones. We have an app on your phone where you can say, I feel like reading about the history of Lakewood and place a hold on it. say which library you want to pick it up at, and it'll be there waiting for you. I have over 60 staff working in Lakewood, and they all strive to give good customer service and work really hard to serve the community. I'm very proud to work with them. And in Lakewood, because I've worked in a few libraries in Ocean County, and I think Lakewood, the people in Lakewood need the library more than any other town and use it. And I'm very proud about that. So if I can ever help anybody, if you need any information about the library, actually I'm going back over there, so if anyone leaves and wants any help, please don't hesitate to come.
Can I use my library card from Cincinnati, Ohio, 1950?
No, you can't.
No.
But we could work out, a deal. I also wanted to say for businessmen in the room or anyone doing research, you can make an appointment and have a librarian by appointment for an hour to help you with your research or learning how to use a device or anything like that. Okay?
Kathy, thank you very much. Thanks for everything that you and the folks at the library do for us. We do know how important it is to the township, how valuable an asset you are to us. So, again, thank you very much for coming out tonight and spreading the word, and let's all plan a big party for the 125 next year.
Okay, expect to see you then.
I'll be there. It's a proclamation, too.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Don't work too hard tonight.
Okay. I would have liked to thank all the police that were here before, because they're always there when we need them. They're great.
We agree with you there. You are fantastic people.
What?
All right, fire budget?
Yes.
Open hearing, or?
Yes. So you should read, Katie should read it by title, and then open the hearing.
Resolution of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending a resolution entitled Fixing the Annual Budget for the Lakewood Township Fire District pursuant to NJS 48:14-78.5. Steve, should I give a brief synopsis?
Yeah, Mayor, if I might, there was a mathematical error in the fire budget resolution the last time it was on the agenda. The amount to be raised by taxation, but it didn't change. There was a mathematical scrivener's error in the resolution. I have talked to people at the Division of Department of Community Affairs. They've approved the process that we're undergoing now, so it takes another vote by the committee to approve the fire budget for, as we put forth the last time. I don't need time to go through the explanation again. That's
No, we're not changing anything that we did last time. It's the same amount that's being cut from the budget.
Yes.
Again, it was just a clerical error on the form, and he wanted to make sure that he left nothing to chance, so we decided to redo it. So at that point, I'll open the meeting to the public. If anybody would like to make any comments on the fire budget. Seeing nobody, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So made.
Second. Any discussion? Approved by Mayor, second by Minaj. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Delia.
Abstain.
Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, the ordinance for the budget.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to exceed the municipal cap budget appropriation limits and establish a cap bank, NJSA 48:4-45.14.
Steve, do we have a public hearing on this?
No, this is the introduction. There's no public comment. It's just an introduction. Public
It
comment.
just has to be done, it has to be done before the budget's
Okay.
introduced. That's why it's in that
Can I
section.
have a motion, please? Motion. Moved by Mike. Second. Second by Minaj. Roll call, please.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes.
And just, yeah, and just for everybody's edification, there's no tax increase in the municipal tax rate this year.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Katie?
Introduction of the municipal budget. Municipal budget of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, for the fiscal year 2017. Be it resolved that the following statements of revenues and appropriations shall constitute the municipal budget for the year 2017. Be it further resolved that said published budget be published in the Asbury Park Press in the issue of April 28, 2017. Notice is hereby given that the budget and tax resolution will be approved by the Township Committee of Township of Lakewood on April 6, 2017. A hearing on the budget and tax resolution be held at the municipal building on May 4th, 2017 at 7:30 p.m., at which time and place objections to said budget and tax resolution for the year 2017 may be presented by taxpayers or other interested persons.
Do you have a motion?
So made.
Moved by Mayor, second by Mike. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. Thank you, Kate.
You're welcome.
At this time, we're going to open the meeting to the public. Anybody who'd like to be heard, please come to the microphone. Please observe the 4-minute limit, and we look forward to hearing from you. Seeing nobody, roll.
Yes. Sorry, I thought Noreen wanted to speak. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Joyce Blake, editor/reporter, NJ News and Views, 311 Laurel Way, Toms River, New Jersey, 08755. First of all, I would like to congratulate the officers on their promotions. I would also like to say that I appreciate the township giving the opportunity to a representative of the library to promote its services. Those are very important to any community. Now for my question. I did wonder, with respect to the introduction of the township's 2017 municipal budget, it does seem extraordinarily early in the year, given Lakewood's past date on which committeemen had introduced the budget. It was my understanding that usually the delayed introduction was based on an expectation, or at least a waiting period, for the state to release its state aid information. May I ask why Lakewood Township is introducing it so early, and have you received an early release of state aid figures?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Would you
You're not
kindly?
guessing at this one.
You haven't.
Bill Riker was able to get the figures a couple weeks ago.
Well, we're using last year's figures, but actually we're introducing right at the end of where the state wants you to introduce your budget. Okay, we're not early. I mean, we're early for the history of Lakewood, but for the state, we're right at the border of not introducing it on time.
I have to ask you, Mr. Henshaw, because I did ask the same question several months earlier. How much does Lakewood have in surplus if it doesn't need to wait for state aid?
We have more than enough surplus to handle.
I know it's in here, but it is an important figure. I'm not trying to embarrass you. I'm just asking if you know. All right, well, I'll have to look it up and be surprised.
It's $15
all right.
million of surplus this year in our budget.
Is there a surplus?
Of course there's a surplus.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be impertinent. I'm just asking questions. Thank you so much.
Good evening, my name is Martin Arbus, I'm an attorney, and I'm here representing Kathy and Mike Stillwell, and perhaps some other people that I'm not sure quite yet who. And it's regarding an ordinance that you have on tonight for first reading to repeal 2013-79. That regards the commercial uses on properties with frontage on County Line Road. It was passed back in December of 2013. At the time it was passed, there was no notice given to the property owners within the zone, and no notice given to those within 200 feet of the zone as required by statute. The statute's NJSA 40:55D 62.1. The statute requires that notice, and case law makes it clear that any changes to the zoning without that notice results in the ordinance being null and void. And so it's our position, clearly, that the ordinance as it stands today is null and void. The case is Rockaway ShopRite Assistance versus the City of Linden. That's 424 New Jersey Super 337. It's a 2011 appellate division case, and the cert was denied by the Supreme Court in 2012. I know this council is familiar with the Weinberger case, which was decided in 2015, where Judge Grasso declared local ordinances were a nullity where they were not where the people were not properly noticed. And that's exactly what we have in this case. And while I recognize you have the ordinance first reading to repeal, I would also request that the council, if they're going to vote to approve the repeal, also suspend any pending applications that are currently before any of the boards that may be granted in the interim or heard in the interim. I don't think that would do a service to either my clients or the applicants if those approvals would then be subject to reversal, given the fact that the ordinance was null and void. That's pretty much our position. I was under the impression after the last meeting that the repeal ordinance was before the council and it had been rejected, but apparently had just been pulled and put on for tonight's meeting. So that was a slight misunderstanding on my part, but I would urge you to vote for the repeal and also take further action to make sure that no one is relying upon the ordinance and making application for approvals during the interim. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. I'm guessing you do not, but I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Lloyd McLean, 189 Chicago. Lakewood has something that's going very good, a friendship problem. But when it gets abused a little bit, and it's used the wrong way, that's when the issue is. I'll give an example of what I'm talking about. Oak Street corridor. Originally, when this was changed, this was 12,000 square feet lot zone, single family, no duplexes allowed. Then there was some 40,000 square feet lots, and it was changed by this committee, and one of the committee members on that time, he's not on the board anymore, was very good friends with one of the main developers over there. And it was changed to high density. And the reasoning, the intent, when the zoning was changed says, in the master plan and so in the ordinance, that it's for affordable housing. Now, what happens if what's happening now in the township, the planning board, that they come and not only did the reason that was made into duplexes, because duplexes is usually affordable. So they came up with a great idea to change it from duplexes to single family and building monster single family. So the whole idea of affordable housing goes out the window. And when they changed it by the planning board now, one of the applicants, they changed it to single family homes. They claim we're not doing more housing, but the problem is that they gave it into below 7,500 square feet lot, a single family home. No zone in Lakewood even permits such building a house in such a zone. So building a single family home when the whole intent of the zoning was to do affordable housing and now they're doing single family homes makes no sense. And I looked up, there's another applicant that came for the same request and he got denied. His name was Cindy Krupnik. He got denied. But the applicant that got approved, again, he is friends with one of the members of the planning board, that he was on the dais highly advocating that they should change it by the planning board. So if the planning board says one applicant no and the other applicant, because he's a friend of his, yes, you know, they have to approve stuff on the intent of the zoning, not on friendship. And it's quite obvious why it was approved, this one and not that one. Another thing on the Oak Street corridor that mentioned by the planning board, they're selling these units, they're doing 3 accesses on the side. 1 to 2 of them is 2 rentable basements, and 1 of them is going up to a rentable attic. When this was mentioned to the zoning board, they said, we cannot do anything about it because you passed an ordinance if they are compliant with the Lakewood ordinance and everything, they have to approve it, and they cannot request from them not to make more doors like the zoning board is lately doing. And so we are having now, with this ordinance passed, and you're limiting the planning board even to require them to follow the law, because people, if you're giving them the opportunity to build the basements with rentable, with access from the outside, and access to the outside from the top to the attic, they will rent it out. And so, again, my point is, the planning board, I'm talking about the planning board, not the zoning board, should be approving stuff on the professionalism, what the intent of the zoning, and not by friendship. Thank you.
Steve?
Yes,
Can
sir.
you reach out to John Jackson and ask him about the specifics there, why one single family was approved and another was denied, see if there's any reason for that?
Of course.
And I keep being told, I hear about these rented attics, but I keep being told that they don't exist. Please ask him to find out if there is such a thing as an outdoor entrance to an attic apartment.
I don't understand how we would know that.
Well, the planning board is approving the plans. I mean, you have to get the engineering department involved as well.
Yeah.
This is not the first time that this has come up. This.
I know that.
I
heard the same thing that you said.
All right, if we check with engineering too, please ask them to find out if there is an outside entrance that accesses an attic and what those attics include. If it's just a room, I mean, if it's a finished attic space, I don't think there's much we can do. But if they're finishing an attic with bathrooms and kitchens and outside entrances, then we have some.
I'll run it
Some
down.
work to do.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you, Mr. Klein.
I'm Mayor Salzer, 17 Oasis Court here in Lakewood. I've been up here before, about 6 months ago, complaining about traffic in town and density. I've spoken offline with each of you, so none of this should be news to you. Yet we still continue to see the problems in town. So in the time that I have now, we're not going to continue to belabor that point. But I think the real question is, do we need to slow down the building in town? And is that tied to traffic? Now, this has been brought up in many meetings before, planning, zoning, committee meetings. There was a density master plan subcommittee meeting, which was supposed to be for input from the public, but all it turned into is basically a shouting match. It was pretty obvious the frustration of the residents in town. And there was one big debate there, which was, does density cause traffic, or are they two separate issues? Now, I think, the best analogy that I've heard on this is, if you have a water main break in your house, you don't sit there and argue whether, oh, it's not the water, it's the plumbing, and let's not shut off the water because we need to fix the plumbing. You shut off the water, and then you go and turn it back on once everything has been fixed. And I think for any reasonable person, that's pretty obvious. And if you were at that, or if you've seen that density subcommittee meeting, the overwhelming majority of people were of that opinion, but for maybe one, minority opinion who have special interests, and again, in the time that I've left, I don't want to get into that. So really, what I'm up here is, not just to continue the vent, but it's really, we want to know where you guys stand. And, Committeeman D'Elia and Coles, I'm going to single you out because this is your election year, and you obviously are running and want to continue to represent us. And, I personally was pretty encouraged after having spoken to you a half a year ago. Committeeman D'Elia, you were, this was when you were still planning to take on the mayorship, and you specifically told me that you agreed that I don't remember the exact words, but the building had to be slowed down. So I was very disappointed to see in the Lakewood Voice just 2 weeks ago, there was an article quoting you as saying that you don't think slowing construction is the answer anymore, and which was very surprising to me, and it kind of raised all the same questions about what happened with the mayorship, that we were gonna work on strengthening the ordinances and whatnot to try to slow down the building. And there have been a lot of questions raised. I didn't hear any good answer on why, what went on there, but it kind of, the same thing here, like what happened, who got to you, and we really thank you for all that you've done over the years, but there's a saying that says if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. So I'm surprised, if you really are representing us, why are you, what happened with this about face? And Mayor Coles, I've spoken to you as well, and actually was very encouraged in January, February, the early part of this year, to see certain ordinances that were put forth, but there seems to have been sort of a complete reversal in the last few weeks, months. And again, in the time that I've left, I can't go through all of them, but just to mention the parking ordinance or the digital billboards, which I know is not directly related to the traffic situation, and I don't even want to get into the safety issues or not, but it really raises the same question: whose interests or what interests of the public does that really, look out for or speak to, or are there, certain special interests that are really in control here? And my time is up, but I'm really here to put you on notice that the public is watching. They may not be all or weren't all that informed until now, but we are not. They are not cheap and they are not stupid. So.
Thank you very much for your time.
I had been informed that after the interview, a couple of weeks later, I think, the printing of that article was not exactly what I had said, but that's the press. All what I said was. I may sit down because I'm not going to have a dialogue with you. I'm sorry, I can't.
I was hoping you could clarify your stance.
That's okay. What I said was, we can't have a moratorium. We can't do a moratorium. I've been advised by the attorney that it may last 3 months, 4 months, and it will be overturned. I said I would like to be working with all the people to see if we can come up with something that can satisfy all of us. As far as the traffic goes, we're constantly working on that. We're very frustrated that the things that we have started to implement still aren't done. We've talked about it tonight at the workshop. So I did not say I was against or for. I was trying to see if we could work together so that we could come up with something that could make both parties happy. As far as the moratorium goes, I've been advised by attorneys you can't do it. Now, I did have an attorney come up to me and say that's not true. Attorneys could have 5 in a room and have 5 different opinions. It's true. So, but I'm still working, and I will meet with anybody, anytime, and discuss the problems and what we can do about it.
Thanks, Mike. I'll be brief with that. One of the things I wanted to do at the beginning of the year is work with the planning board and the zoning board to make them more responsive. I wanted to make sure that the development that's being approved was smart, that the folks that were making the decisions had all the information they needed. No more coming to the board and saying, well, this zone allows me to build 20 houses, that's what I'm going to do, approve it. Now you have to bring in the plans, show everybody what's going to be there, make sure things like sidewalks and whatnot are taken care of. So it's a smarter development, and it's also making sure that the boards are more responsive to the people in the audience. Because I've said many times before that the only way things are going to change is when the people in this town all come together and let all of us know what they want. It's not always a pleasant experience to sit up here, but it's a necessary one. And the same thing goes for the planning and the zoning boards. And I think some of the things that you've seen recently bear that out. And as far as development and traffic, they're not two separate issues, and you don't work on one instead of the other. We're doing a lot of things for the traffic right now. We have a study going on. I've got plans with the engineering department to widen Pine Street, to realign Washington Street, to make sure that some of the big areas that people have come to us and said, these are the parts of town that are really in need of help, are being done. We're awarding a contract tomorrow, I think, hopefully, to get going on the installation of 5 new traffic signals in town. Those are in addition to the ones that the county's putting in at a lot of the intersections. We're working with the county to make sure that some of the roads that they're responsible for that do cause a lot of the traffic backups are starting to be addressed a little bit better. So there's a lot of things that are going on. It's not that I want to see development stop or I want to see it done unbridled. What I want to see that the development that's done is that everybody understands what's being proposed, everybody understands what the consequences are, and that we look at it a lot closer than we looked at before. And when I met with Alan Morris and Terry Bode a week or 2 ago, she said it is having an impact, because the number of applications that are coming before them have drastically dropped. So those people have to now go back and make sure that the plans they're submitting to the boards plans that are able to be looked at so people understand exactly what's going on. So I'll continue to work that vein, and, we'll see what happens in the fall. And thanks for your comments, I appreciate it.
Noreen Gill, 192 Coventry Drive, Lakewood. Yes, I hope the county is going to do some of our roads because I lost 2 tires recently. $300 and some, and Route 88 is a total disaster because it was good, but every time we put in a development, they put a strip in the middle of the road for the, whatever they're putting in, sewers or whatnot. So it's poor planning, literally, as far as the developments, because our roads are a mess due to the fact that, yes, developments do take place, but in the meantime, they're digging up our roads. Over a year ago, County Line Road was a mess until I understand someone blew a tire from the Township Committee and it got fixed.
What do you got?
By the railroad tracks.
Who?
Ackerman?
Oh,
I
okay.
think
Point out
it
the
was-
one guy who's not here.
Yeah, but that's fine with me because the main thing is it got fixed. However, I do want to make a comment on the attics. I can't say that all these homes that are built do have attics. I can attest, along with some other people who are not here, that on County Line Road, you can actually see the cabins in the attic and the people walking around. A woman from Westgate was here and spoke at one of the meetings and pleaded with them not to allow the attics. She said it's a safety matter, and she knows for a fact that people were living in the attics. So, next to someone complaining or signing a complaint, I know it's hard to go into a home, but people have done things after the fact, after the home is built. So, unless, we have proof to get in there, there's no really way of, someone signing a complaint and saying it. I do want to mention also that being on the density subcommittee, recently I just got an email today that we've had 3 requests for change in the zoning. I actually had a neighbor tell me at one of the meetings here, a township meeting, that she was told that if they rezone it, she's going to get a lot more money for her property. And I said, well, Cross Street right now can't take any more traffic. They can't take any more traffic. I got on Cross Street the other day at 20:04, and I reached West County Line Road at 5:05, because I decided to go the back way. Now, near Neiman Road, it's very bad, and there's lights over there. However, changing that area over there, rezoning it, is a catastrophe. There is an area, we have 3 requests. I believe you can put density in certain areas in Lakewood. There are certain areas that it can go. But I firmly believe that Cross Street is no longer an area for density. What it boils down to is someone that has a nice sized lot can sell their home and get more money, and the developer can make more money. But we have to think about the other people who travel that road and the people that live in that area. That's my main concern, and my main concern, even being on this committee, is the safety. I'm not against having density in certain areas, but certainly Cross Street is not one of them. So I have a lot of concerns. Thank you.
Good comment. Bill?
Good evening, Bill Hobday, 30 Schoolhouse Lane. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Township Committee, professionals. Mr. Mayor, the zoning board of adjustments seems to get it. They're doing their job in a more professional manner all the time. Mr. Dasty, the council, is on the ball. He understands. And of course, there's always another thing, and I refer to the planning board. They don't get it. they continue to hear incomplete applications. They continue to do things that defy anyone's imagination. The engineering company, Remington and Brennan, okay, seems to still push these things forward when they know that the rules say they shouldn't be, to allow the planning board to look and decide. Last Tuesday, you might look and see, well, okay, applicant said, oh, yeah, it's substantially complete. Substantially complete isn't complete. And it required a change to the plan, which says a new application. However, the planning board allowed them to go back, they'll change the plans, and they can continue their application in May instead of starting over. What's going on? They don't get it. They see the rules, they understand what is required and what is not, and they continue to do it. And I think that they're continuing to defy the township committee. I know your heart is in the right place, your judgment is the right place, you want to do the right thing for the township of Lakewood. You need help from these boards, and I implore you. Come and sit through these meetings. It's crazy. We didn't get out there till 11 o'clock Tuesday night. But some of the decisions are absolutely baffling. How could a quasi-judicial body make these kinds of decisions? It's impossible. And I say, as well as you're doing with the zoning board, I see no improvement. In fact, I see backsliding in the planning board.
Thanks, but which application were you referring to that was allowed to continue in May?
I don't have that document with me, but I will email you.
Okay, would you please, and Tom, if you would check with Terry Vogt and just ask him for a report on why those changes were allowed and exactly what happened there so we can get a better handle on it. Thanks, Bill. Yes, sir.
Second, I got another minute.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Another thing, and I don't have the notice number, I didn't realize I was going to speak on this tonight. It was entitled Cross Street Development, but it was not on Cross Street. The ingress and egress would be on Massachusetts Avenue. And it is for a very large yeshiva and a lot of duplexes in there and all that. And it was approved early on in 2014. And at that time, they believed that the township was going to vacate multiple streets. I think it was 3 streets. They acquired the property, and then the township committee didn't vacate those streets, so they sold it to another client. The other client has it, but the building, it showed that buildings would be placed on the streets, on the paper streets. Well, applicant got a 2-year extension from 14 to 16, and then to 17. I come back to Tuesday and ask for another 3 years extension in the hopes that the township is going to vacate those streets.
Wrap it up, I'm sorry. I know it took some of your time, so just wrap it up quickly.
Yes, and the only other thing is the 2013 Smart Growth Plan says that there will be no new ingress and egress on Massachusetts Avenue and or Cross Street. The only ingress egress is Prospect Street. That's in it. Mr. Flannery was testifying that we'll find a way.
Thank you, Bill.
Good evening. My name is Joan Miller. I live on the corner of County Line in Somerset. Mr. Arbus got up and gave you the legal aspect of what's going on at County Line. I would like to give you the personal aspect of what's going on at County Line Road. We were shocked, to say the least, to learn that this ordinance had been passed in 2013. We knew nothing about this. When I moved, my family and I moved to the corner of County Line in Somerset 14 years ago. There was no traffic light there. There was no need for a traffic light. We moved there because it was a beautiful, quiet neighborhood. We had beautiful farms. That is the setting that we prefer to live in. Since that time, things have changed, as you know. And in the last couple of years, things have changed dramatically. There are times of the day I cannot get out of my driveway because of the traffic. Because of the building that's going on, the county has had to upgrade the infrastructure. I have been awakened in the morning to backhoes on my front lawn, digging up my front lawn. I have been kept up nights and nights on end with no sleep because the construction crews putting in the gas lines and the sewer pipes work at night. And my bedroom is on County Line Road. 2 weeks ago, my house shook for 3 hours, from 2:30 in the morning till 5:30 in the morning. It's beginning to affect my health. I am here on behalf of the other people that we have joined together. You're talking about community. We have joined together, the people that live on County Line. There are many more of us, but we could not be here tonight, seeing as it's right before Passover, and people are very busy. I am here to ask this Township Committee to please not hide behind your legal rights, and to please do the right thing for the residents of this township and for the residents of County Line Road. Thank you.
Shimon Soloff. I live on 56 Rosa Hill in Lakewood, New Jersey. I'm a resident in Lakewood since 1994, and my grandparents came in 1896 to the U.S. And going back, my grandmother is still, she's an elderly lady, and she's talking about in Manhattan, in New York City, where there used to be one car parked on the side and the rest was horse and buggies. Times change, and when I came to Lakewood, County Line Road looked like Squantum Road down the road. Times change and the community grows, and there's growth in the community. It's great for the community to grow. While the community is growing, it's called growing pains. I myself built a building, 2 office buildings on County Line Road. I could say I invested $150,000 in the county. I'm in the middle of investing $150,000 in the County Line Road to add a turning lane and to add sidewalks. And County Line Road right now, within the last year, is called growing pain, which is while you do the construction, things happen. But what's happening right now on County Line Road is great. There's a turning lane being added an entire road, and the traffic on County Line is not because of the commercial properties that were built there. The commercial properties reduce traffic. There's traffic studies for all that, and it's something that was done just like that. So the traffic on County Line Road right now is from so much new housing in the town, which is great, and all the County Line Road itself is a thoroughfare, which adds a lot of traffic just from the housing all around. It's not from County Line Road itself. A commercial property, which is office only, most of it was approved for office only building, which is, I think it's called OT. Offices is open probably less than 30% of the time. Sunday it's closed, it's 9 to 5 only. Holidays are closed, weekends are closed, so it will only add the traffic from on the weekday 9 to 5, and studies were done, and all the complaints right now in the last 2 years is for the congestion that's going on right now, and the construction that's going on right now is improvement that's happening. It's not something negative, it's something positive. So I just wanted to voice my opinion. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Ron Birnbaum, 935 East County Line Road. I wasn't planning on speaking now, but I just want to comment on a little bit of what my good and dear friend, Mr. Soloff, just said. I very strongly disagree with his assertion that the commercial building is good for County Line, has been good for County Line. It does not reduce traffic in any way. Where his building was located, there used to be a single-family house with one car. Now, I haven't counted, but the parking lot is always full, and there's even often cars in the grass. I would say a minimum of 20. Maybe I'm wrong. Could be more, could be a little less. But I don't see how that decreases traffic. It increases traffic and increases the difficulty for the residents that invested in their homes and decided to bring up their families there based on the fact that it was zoned as a residential area. The fact that now, a few years ago, the ordinance was changed in a way that was not legal is a travesty, and it's important, as we are a society of law, that the law should be followed. And our request of this township committee, respectfully, is to just let the law talk for itself, and the ordinance as it is now stated was not done properly, and it should go back to the zoning that was in place before that 2014 ordinance was illegally instituted. Thank you.
I brought my son with me, but he shied out. He really wanted to speak. He wanted to say that he doesn't. Oh, sorry. My name is Joseph Balter, 944 Somerset Avenue, Lakewood. I live right next to one house from County Line Road, and I have the appreciation of a lot of cars and lots of construction. That's what we see throughout our windows through our whole day, instead of seeing, as Mrs. Miller mentioned before, the farms, which was all very nice. And the previous Mr. Soloff mentioned how Manhattan used to have one car. I'm sure the zoning changed in a legal fashion, and things moved in that direction, all in a legal way. And what I am seeking is, A, we are still families, and I'm sure on Arosa Hill, we're not looking to change any kind of zoning from, I'm not familiar with the codes, but from a residential to a commercial. For my son not to have friends behind, like the building, like the house that was right next door, and turn it into a building. We're going to turn into an island. The Millers and I, and there are going to be buildings behind us, in front of us, beside us, and what are we left with? We spent a great amount of money. We're paying exorbitant amount of real estate tax, and I'm not sure for what. We're not living in a house. We're living just like in a very noisy environment where it's difficult to sleep. Our house shakes maybe not as often as the Millers, but it definitely, we thought there was an earthquake at many times. There has to be consideration. I know we're just a few people left. There are a few people left living on County Line. There are many more buildings that are just pushing themselves through. If I recall, Mr. Soloff built a building there, and it was supposed to be very small and just like an offshoot of the Borough Park office, and it's just supposed to be really nothing too busy, but all of a sudden we see another building just crept up there, and there it is, mushroomed another huge building. So we really have to work together to make sure this ordinance that passed illegally should be repealed and take into consideration that we are lives, we are people, that my children are looking for some sort of quiet, to be able to cross the street without the needing of their parent, which is impossible at this point, to try and think, I'm going to ride my bike down the road. I'm sure many people in this audience don't even hear their child saying, I'm just riding down the road, and I'm just thinking, will he come back okay? It's, you know, so I really would appreciate your understanding and, again, following the laws that have put together the township to start. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mordechai Fligman. I live in Raintree. While I hear a lot of concerns, and I like everyone's blaming commercial development that's happening on County Line Road, I would like to ask, I think on Pine Street, there's that much more traffic, that many more issues, and there's not one commercial building there. I think the neighbors have the same feeling that there's construction and noise and roads being broken and so on and so forth. So I think just blaming commercial development, which at this point I think there are only 4 or 5 commercial projects on this whole county line redevelopment zone that was done, I think that's silly. And as far as planning is concerned, if that's what this is about, then I don't think that will help the solution at all. Additionally, I'm not an attorney. I don't have my attorney present. I personally purchased the property with the assumption that the zone was changed legally by this board whenever it was passed. I assume this township council that reviewed the laws. I don't have a comment on that, but by changing that zoning now and not allowing the commercial or office, first of all, what it would only do is bring more schools and tax loss revenue dollars to Lakewood Township, which is pretty much your highest bidder today. I think there are more schools in County Line and more shuls, and which I have no problem with. Let me rephrase. I have no problem with shuls and yeshivas and everything, but if you would take the amount of yeshivas and schools that have the acreage on County Line Road, which bring your buses and your teachers in schools, I think that's a much bigger traffic issue, especially at 9 o'clock in the morning when everyone is trying to travel to school and to work. So I personally like to ask you if you can not renege on what was approved 2 years ago. Again, like I said, I'm not a lawyer if it was done legally or not, but I assume that the township attorney who approved it at that point did it legally. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Norman Eisner, 3 Venice Court, Lakewood, New Jersey. First of all, I want to say that I'm looking forward for the project going up, Mr. Weber's development on Corner Brook. I live on County Line Manor, which is about a couple thousand feet away. And I'm looking forward to have some closer shopping, and my kids could go bike and they don't have to bike to a much further place and be worried to come home. In addition, I see that there is some, two sides, to be simple about it. And I would make a suggestion that maybe we should make a special meeting and, bring the parties together and see if we do some kind of a solution, some kind of a median way to work out to accommodate the parties who are more interested in commercial and the homeowners who care it should remain residential. And just not to be cute, but I think that all the homeowners should be thankful for the committee that passed this ordinance, because now their real estate is more valuable, and it's thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Benjamin Weber. I live on 31 Engelberg Terrace on Lakewood. I am currently in the midst of developing a property at a corner of County Line, and Brook Road. In regards to this ordinance, actually, my property was actually priorly approved by the zoning board before this ordinance came into play. At the time, at the zoning board, there was a big discussion in regards to need a commercial on the County Line corridor. And through my application at the zoning board, there was a discussion to create a permitted use along County Line Road. The logic in that was that every town needs commercial, and commercial is a need to every town. And when you're planning commercial in a township, the place to do it is on the main corridors. We have Route 9, which runs north to south. We have County Line, which runs east to west. Route 9 was already fully commercial, and therefore that stayed that way. And along with this ordinance came a sister ordinance, which dictated that any property, any residential approval along Route 9, the first, I think, either 150 or 300 feet had to be commercial. They could not put residential there. And along County Line Road, they put through an ordinance that commercial is a conditional use, taking into account the neighboring residential, putting buffers and different requirements would have to be there. If you go further down County Line Road, west of Route 9 into Jackson, most of that property is all commercial, as is on most county roads. In regards to legality of the ordinance, there were approximately 50 ordinances passed that time based on the same notification basis, and I'm pretty sure that the lawyers who were there were pretty competent, hired by a competent board who hired them, and they were never fired from the board, just that contract was not renewed. As Mr. D'Elia said so eloquently, put 5 lawyers in a room, you're going to have 5 opinions. I respect he has his opinion, but I'm sure the attorneys who put this in place had their opinions. In regards to the parties living on County Line Road, first of all, they don't live on County Line Road, they live off of County Line Road. Even Mrs. Miller, who lives on the corner, actually I remember when her property was up for sale, she bought it at a steep discount, being that it was on County Line Road. In general real estate, there are multiple different price levels of housing. You buy a 2-acre property, you're going to pay more. You buy a 1-acre property, you're going to pay less. You buy 10,000 square feet, you're going to pay more. You buy 2,000 square feet, you're going to pay less. You buy a property in a county corridor, you're paying less because that is the expectation. You are going to have higher traffic on a county corridor, and there typically will be commercial development on a county corridor. Currently from my house where I live, if I need a cleaners, it's a 3.5-mile trip return. My car causes traffic on County Line Road. Bringing responsible development close by actually cuts traffic. This is a proven study in any traffic study you look at. Community shopping centers help traffic, as long as it's done responsibly. In regards to the legality of it, I'm pretty sure it was done legal, or there's an argument to say that it was done legal. If he has an issue with the zone, he's more than welcome to go sue the township. But as far as the township committee is concerned, you got to take the assumption that your attorney did everything legal for you up until you actually have a lawsuit against you. Right now, we have the zone with many people in the zone. I'm currently in the midst of development to have no other interest. However, there still would be hardships in the event that the zone was rescinded. I understand there are concerns, and there actually have been people, if you give me another 30 seconds, please.
15.
There actually have been people who have manipulated the zone. There are ways to bridge that gap. There are 4 conditions to the zone: size, acreage, and different things. We can modify the zone to make it more responsible and make sure that people don't get affected as much as their neighbors. Thank you.
Good evening. Kathy Stillwell, 950 Brook Road in Lakewood. While all this conversation from the developers of commercial properties on County Line Road is interesting, it really has no bearing on what we're talking about tonight. Tonight we're talking about an ordinance that was jurisdictionally improperly given to this body to vote on because there was no notice given to the residents living in that zone. And the meeting that this gentleman is referring to would have been a meeting talking about those changes to the ordinance, wherein we could have represented what we thought could work from a current resident aspect to what future plans may or may not need. That never happened. As a result of that, we have been irreparably harmed. We live on County Line Road, and we have commercial buildings going up in an area that we understood was totally residential. So why those buildings exist, while I, will respectfully say that I cannot imagine any commercial building causing less traffic than a residence that has 2 cars, whereas a commercial building has however many parking spaces that are needed for the commerce that takes place. So the bottom line here to me is the ordinance needs to be repealed. If this body wants to go back to the planning board and ask the planning board for a reconsideration of another notice, and another ordinance rather, and we are noticed, we will come and we will have input as to the changes in that notice. We were never given that opportunity to do that. And that's why we are represented tonight, because we feel that this is illegal. And I don't think there's any question about the legality of it. So I'm asking the board to do the right thing for the right reasons and the legal reasons and repeal the ordinance that was improperly approved years ago. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, seeing nobody else, we're going to close the public portion. Thank you all for your comments. We have a motion for the consent agenda. Move. Second. Anything anybody wants removed?
I'm just going to abstain on 22, but you may want to as well.
Yes. Okay. Roll call, please.
Hold on one second. You need 3 people to vote for it, 2 of us abstain.
I didn't hear you.
If in any way you should, last time you didn't have enough, you allowed us to vote out of necessity.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I mean, I've represented other communities that had the same situation. I don't understand why you have a conflict. You folks think you're more comfortable not getting involved. It's my same.
I want to make sure there's not a legal reason for us not.
There isn't not. There is
All
not.
right, then I won't abstain.
Roll call.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes. Ordinances for second reading.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood County, Ocean State of New Jersey, authorizing the private sale and conveyance of block 161, lot 2, lying within the Township of Lakewood County, Ocean State of New Jersey, pursuant to NJSA 48:12-13 et sec, to the Lakewood Development Corporation for nominal consideration. The address is 24th Street.
Open the meeting to the public. Take that if you want and come back.
About this private sale, I looked it up.
Name.
Oh, Shloime Klein, Chateau Park. Question, first of all, is when this packet, the agenda is put up online, it's very important that the public should be able to see the full packet, to see what's going on. I know the mayor said that it will be available at least the morning of the meeting for the public to see. We put it up online.
Does that got to do with this ordinance?
What? Yes, because I didn't see the full packet. I could say the same speech on every ordinance now, but I'll keep it just to this one.
All right, Katie, can you explain to us why the packet wasn't ready? I know there was a lot of things going on.
Yes, we were making changes to the packet up until 3 o'clock this afternoon. So, while he may have emailed me, I did not see his email. I've always been accommodating to Mr. Klein in scanning it to him and sending it to him, as I stayed late yesterday for him to give him copies of the petitions he
I
requested.
think part of the problem, Shlomi, is on our end. I promised Katie earlier in the year that she would be getting these changes. I've been a little under the weather the last few days, and I haven't really been too involved in what was going on. I promise you that I'm going to try and limit changes to the agenda so that we don't drive the clerk's office crazy with these changes. I know I came in here at 4 o'clock for a meeting this afternoon. They were working on the packets. So I will do my end to make sure that I allow them not to have to go crazy to get the packet so that the public has the information. So
Thank you.
my apologies for not having.
Now, about this ordinance. it seems like, I was looking it over before, it's selling a property for $1. I know we're now past the Cedar Bridge scandal. That was also sold for $1, and there was a recording in Yiddish that it paid full price, and it says only $1. I'm not going to go into the whole scandal process of Cedar Bridge. But it seems like there's again sales of properties for $1. What is this all about?
This is transferring the community center to the Lakewood Development Corporation, which is an arm of the township. Community center, I am correct on that, right, Tom? Yes. Like I said, the community center is in need of millions of dollars in renovations. What we want to do is to build a new community center out by John Patrick Sports Complex. It's more centrally located, easier for everybody to get together. What the intent is for the Development Corporation to work with the property owner in that area. The property owner has said that he will build a new community center for the township at the Patrick Park in exchange for this property, which will then be torn down and majority of which will be turned into a parking lot.
So it will be owned for the property owner, whoever, you're selling the property, private sale.
Eventually it will, right. Right now it's being transferred to the Development Corporation. That's our township, Lakewood Development Corporation.
So it's a way of getting out of the system. Normally, we would have had to do a public sale to do such a thing. To get out of it, you transfer to the Lakewood Development Corporation. Then they could do it as a private sale again to the property owner, and there's no public. I'm not against this. I don't know what this is. I'm just saying we went through so much as private sales going on, and this sounds also like a private sale. You're just using the LDC to do that. That's in the public's perception. Could be.
It's enabling us to get a community center built for a fraction of what it would cost us to do it ourselves.
Okay.
To replace a structure that's pretty much falling down.
Thank you.
Noreen Gill, 192 Covington Drive. We took out the Little League and we moved it out to Oak Street to John Patrick. The only thing we have left in this town is that community center. And many of the underprivileged children go there. They go there after school, they go there to play basketball. Now, before any of those townhouses were built there, and that area was built up, it was fine. There have been numerous basketball tournaments. People have come from all over. And now, what we're taking again, that is so important to a community, out of a community, and putting it in another area where no one can get to. What about the other people in that community who use this for their after-school programs, for their tutoring, for their basketball? I think this is wrong. There is nothing left in Lakewood for some minorities to go to. We have taken the Little League out and put it out by John Patrick Field. John Patrick is probably rolling over in his grave.
John Patrick was thrilled with
Well,
the complex.
let me tell you something.
He allowed us to name it after him because he was so proud of it.
He might have been, had he realized later on that the town basically is not helping everyone in the town.
May I make a comment on this? I've been, as you know, a lifelong resident of Lakewood, and I questioned this move, basically because I was wondering if this would happen, just what you were saying. And I have done some studies, and I've been talking to these individuals and others. These children that you're talking about are making their way out to the John Patrick complex. It will give them more usage. The building that's there now is outdated. They are making their way out to the John Patrick facilities, and this will be a big help to all of them. So I think, in all due respect, that this is a good move.
Thank you, Mike. Joyce?
Good evening, Joyce Blay, editor/reporter, Engine News and Views. I do have a question with regard to a past question that I had asked the committee. At that time, I had asked if in fact you were scheduling routes from downtown Lakewood that would take inner city youth to the John Patrick Athletic Field, where they will, now I would presume, have an opportunity to participate in many of the activities that they formerly participated in at the community center on 4th Street, and also, as Ms. Gill commented, at the former location of the Little League. My question is whether in fact the Township Committee, in conjunction with the LDC, has established routes going from downtown Lakewood, presumably on 4th Street where the former community center was located, that would transport children, inner city youth, to the John Patrick Athletic Field.
As I answered the question the last time, yes, we will. It's important to point out that the soccer program that's held out on John Patrick a couple times a week has 300 to 400 children show up there every week. These are the kids from the public schools that are managing to get out there to take advantage of the programs that we're offering at John Patrick already. So I think the community center with a new facility that's updated and safer, you're going to have a lot more kids getting out there. And then yes, once it's up there, I have no problem at all asking one of the bus routes to be specifically addressed to the community center.
Let me ask you, Mr. Mayor, since there are a lot of kids who, and again, I'm going according to public comments that I've heard at meetings over the years, children who benefit directly from participation in after-school activities. Is the township working with police department as well as the school district to find a way for these youths to still have access to other alternatives, since there are not yet routes that would take the children to a baseball field and what have you, because the schools located in downtown Lakewood are probably the only outlet these children have to play extracurricular activities and to hopefully find a productive outlet for their energies.
Most of the schools have their own athletic facilities, and that's where these children play after school, if you're talking about the school type of athletic activities.
But only if they can get there, correct?
The John Patrick Field, the township's recreation program has a soccer program that's grown from just a couple of dozen kids to over 300 kids every week that are getting out there with no problem. So yes, when the new community center is up out there, we'll look into adding the route. Right now, the existing community center is functioning and will continue to function until the new one is done.
Thank you very much.
I see nobody else. We'll close the public hearing on this ordinance.
Second.
Moved by Mike, second by Mayor. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. And ordinance 2, I believe we need to have carried. Is that correct? To what date?
Yes. May 5th.
Can I have a motion to carry this ordinance to May 5th?
Motion.
Moved by Mike,
Motion carried.
second by Mayor. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. Ordinance 3.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood County, Ocean State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 11, specifically Section 11-13, entitled Parking Prohibited at All Times on Certain Streets, America Way between Cedar Bridge and New Hampshire.
Open the meeting to the public on this ordinance only.
Sloan McLean, Chateau Park. There's an overflow of parking on the street over there because there's an office building right over there next to the Public Works. I'm understanding it's that location. And that building was given or not given a variance, a waiver of parking requirements that was needed. Therefore, there's a great need of more parking, and that's the overflow that you're trying to eliminate on the street over there. What I want to say is, I went once up to the engineering department a while ago, and I saw a developer giving a box of Dunkin' Donuts to the engineering department. And I was looking at the developer, and I looked at the plans what he was submitting then was before the meeting. And I was wondering what will happen to this development down the road. There it comes, the building is up, it's over there, and there's a parking problem. So I'm just mentioning this, that this type of behavior has to stop.
I'm upset about the lack of parking there too. In fact, Sean, when I asked the engineering department and public works, there's a very large detention basin behind that building. I asked them to look at it to see if that basin, I believe it's oversized, if we could take part of that and sell it to him to provide additional parking. I've been told he's amenable to that. So I'm hoping that we can make a little bit of money for the township and eliminate a parking problem. I agree with you. I was upset about that variance given. I'm happy with the office building, did a wonderful job with it, but we're creating additional
It
problems.
is a nice building, I'm not saying that not.
It is a wonderful place, and hopefully we can eliminate some of those extra parking problems down the road.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Anybody else wish to speak on this ordinance?
Motion.
Moved by Mike.
Second.
Second by Mayor. Oh, I apologize, the ordinance number 2 is carried to May 4th, not May 5th. If I misspoke, I apologize. Roll call, please.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. Ordinance number 4.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood County, Ocean State of New Jersey, pursuant to NJSA 48:21-1 et sec, granting abatement to local property taxes to 1205 Paco Way LLC for facilities located at block 1160, lot 383, and authorizing the mayor and owner designating the township clerk to execute any and all documents necessary and proper to enter into a tax abatement agreement.
Open the meeting to the public. Show me, you want to go first, or you want to wait till we see if somebody from the applicant is here to give us a brief overview?
Yes, better that.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and committeemen. My name is Jeff Hale on behalf of the owner of 1205 Paco Way. We are the developer of the property, also trade as the solar companies locally. The property itself, as you know, is constructed. Consists of 70,000 square feet of state-of-the-art tilt-up construction, 28-foot clear ceiling heights, 40 by 40 bays with tailboard loading. The property is fully paved, fully landscaped, and we have secured a tenant from Edison who's moving their operation down into the building. They're already in the building. It's Iveco, so we've been able to secure a tenant from outside the immediate trade area to lend jobs and commerce to the area. We have substantial interest in the balance of the building, which consists of about 44,000 square feet. We anticipate that leasing up over the course of the next 6 months, plus or minus. So we have historically benefited from the tax abatement program. You're familiar with 1001 New Hampshire Avenue on the corner of New Hampshire and Oak, which is 140,000 feet, which is fully leased. 3 out of the 5 tenants in that building were from outside the local area. The building's 100% leased, so the tax abatement was certainly an attractive part of decision-making to come into the Lakewood area. Be happy to answer any questions about the building.
How many jobs is the first tenant going to bring in, you think?
They forecasted 15.
15? Is that all existing jobs, or could we hire any of these folks from the area?
I believe it's a mixture of both. Coming out of Edison, they were not planning on bringing everybody with them. And the VP that runs the operation is actually out of Tom's River.
Okay, and as far as the other spaces, any idea how many jobs they may, that we may benefit from over the course of the leased out?
We forecasted about 45 new jobs into the area within the entire building, depending on the mix. But that is the forecast. So we're basically 1/3 there with one tenant. Could be more than that. It really kind of depends on what kind of mix of tenant we secure.
Anybody else have any questions? No. Thank you very much. If you could just hold by, I'm sure Mr. Klein may have some questions.
Sure.
Since you're here, I'd like him, within his 5 minutes, to have the opportunity to ask them.
It won't take 5 minutes.
The
tax abatement problem.
Name and address first, come on.
Shlomo Klein, Chateau Park. The tax abatement problem. We're keeping on giving commercial buildings tax abatement. If somebody builds a single-family home, he doesn't get any tax abatement. In New York, there is such a thing that they do get, but over here in New Jersey, the law is you could only do it on commercial properties. And it seems like everybody is getting it. And the reason for that is because if not, they wouldn't build. So we want to promote them to build and bring more jobs. And everything is on that assumption. Lakewood became such a high prime location, it's hard to think for anybody that without that tax abatement, they wouldn't, I'm not talking specifically on this, but it's in every tax abatement. So with giving this tax abatement, I'm not sure that just the commercial properties, because they could get it, are getting it, but it's not needed as far as the township giving away, not then paying their share of tax money for a few years because they want to build. My question is this tax abatement part from the Cedar Bridge Development Corporation that was sold? This is not, has nothing to do, because it says 1160. I looked up the block 1160, lot 383. I looked that up on the township website. This lot doesn't exist. I'm just mentioning this. I was trying to look up where that is. That's the reason why I asked where it is. I could usually look it up myself.
I think it says it's on
It's on
paper
Paper
way.
Way, it's off of Hope Street, the industrial park.
Well, if the lot doesn't exist and we start collecting taxes on it in 5 days, that's pretty good.
Again, then the attorney will say it's only a typo error and we'll only have to make a motion. We see now by Cedar Bridge, it's a typical example. The township used the same law as redevelopment, and basically what we ended up, 20 years, they didn't spend a single dollar on taxes on that property. They must probably, after they will get their approvals, whenever this whole thing that is going on now will get resolved, there'll be another 10 years till they'll finish building that we won't get taxes, the township won't get taxes from their property either. Then they'll get another 30 years, a tax abatement, that's part of the agreement. So you're dealing over here 60 years. Whoever made that,
I think you're a little bit off on that. Finish your comments and I'll respond.
I'm done.
You done? Okay.
Yep.
As far as the abatement goes, all right, I'll go back to my own personal history with this, which I told the last meeting. The developer builds the building and benefits by having tenants lease the building. It's the tenants that come into that building that are really the beneficiaries of a tax abatement. My own personal history is 27 years ago, when I started my business in the industrial park. It was in a new building, and it was eligible for the 5-year tax abatement. And that few $100s a month that I saved was one of the reasons I think that I was able to successfully get my business off the ground. 27 years later, I'm still paying taxes in town. Those 5 years helped me to get off the ground, and it's helped an awful lot of other small companies to do the same thing. It takes a lot to go into a building like that where the overhead, the utilities, everything else is in the thousands of dollars a month. So to get the business going, and that's really what this is. It's a business development, an economic development tool to help the businesses going into those buildings to establish themselves with that little bit of help and hopefully become productive employers for the township for many years to come. That's why I've always been much in favor of these abatements. So, I mean, that's specifically what we're talking about for this application today. While the developer will benefit by having the rental income from those tenants, it's the tenants themselves that benefit from the abatement, not so much the developer. Now, keep in mind, too, that we're still receiving the tax income for the property. It's the building itself, which granted is probably the majority of it, which is subject to the abatement. So we still get some taxes from the property, and the building is phased in over 5 years. Like I said, it's for the tenants more than anything else that I vote yes on these. As much as I might like a developer and love to see these small businesses have an opportunity to get a foothold, and it's the little bit that the township can do to help them establish themselves and hopefully become successful down the road.
Could be I misunderstood. What you're saying is usually when you rent a commercial property, the rental pays the building real estate taxes?
Yes.
So that's how it works. That's the reason why it's more the tenant gets, because usually the tenant pays that.
If you have a deal where you pay the real estate taxes, I'll move in tomorrow. But
So that means if there's no tenant, there's no building taxes?
no, if there's no tenant, he's responsible for the taxes.
The
But it's the
property
tenant who,
owner.
when they lease up,
That's how every commercial lease works, that the tenant pays for.
Unless you have a very, very nice landlord, yes.
Thank you.
Bill?
William Bob Day, 30 Schoolhouse Lane. Lakewood Township really needs commercial businesses. Jobs are important. And I understand the need to develop business. My question is, what happens after the 3 or 5 year period when the tax abatement runs out? Is there any hook there to keep that developer there for X amount of years after the abatement finishes?
Well, they own the building, Bill. I can't honestly think that somebody would abandon a building like that, which is probably in the tens of millions of dollars by the time it's done.
Not necessarily, sorry for interrupting you. My point was,
No time, so.
my point was, you get your tax abatement, you keep it for 5 years, sell it. The other guy's gonna pay. And might he apply for an abatement?
A lot of businesses don't make it the full 5 years, unfortunately.
No, the answer is no.
No.
So the person cannot get a tax.
Only the building. It's only the first time it's built, and it has to be applied for within 30 days of the CO being issued for the building.
First time it's built.
Yeah, it's for new buildings, or in addition to an existing building, would be eligible for an abatement only on the new square footage.
Okay, let's suppose there's an existing building that is completely refurbished. Is that available for abatement? You know, I'm reaching back now. I think that there was a township decision at the corner of Route 9, and I don't know whether that's Cross Street or Chestnut Street that's on the east side. That whole strip mall that was redeveloped on the top side, and then they put all the basement businesses in. Did that get an abatement?
I don't believe so. They're not eligible for it because it's an existing structure. They did renovate it. It's only for new construction.
Or new construction added on.
Right, in addition to it.
Okay, I'm going to pull the, you know, I have no reason to disbelieve you. It was my belief that I recalled that there was some kind of a, let me get the minutes and we'll.
I do believe Bill, he tried to get it.
I'm sorry?
I believe there's something where he did try and, he asked for it, but we didn't grant it. I believe that's the way it went. I think that's what you're talking about.
He requested it but was denied?
I believe that's what, I believe that.
I recall that.
Personally, I
It
recall
would not
the
come
same
to
thing.
the, now, Katie, who fills out the application? Is it through your office?
Yes, they come get the application through my office.
Right, and if they're not eligible because of the existing structure, would you tell them at that time?
No, I forwarded it to the tax assessor, Steve Ryman from the IC, and Tom's office. They're the ones who review the actual submission. and
Plus
tell
I
them
review
whether
it.
they're eligible, and the township attorney.
By the time it gets, Bill, by the time it gets to the committee, it's been vetted through the professionals.
Bill, maybe I misunderstood it then, but I did hear some talk about that. Maybe it never got that far. I do remember hearing some talk about it.
Okay.
Anybody can apply
I
for
got you.
it, Bill, but you have to be eligible under the, it's a state statute, it's not a local issue.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Good evening again. Joyce Blay, NJ News and Views. I have one question. Is this particular property located in Lakewood's urban enterprise zone?
It's an industrial park, yes.
May I ask if your company or any of your tenants are or plan to become members of the Lakewood UEZ?
I couldn't answer what the plans are.
Joyce, that's not a requirement.
I beg your pardon?
That is not a requirement.
No, I realize that, but it is a question.
As soon as the tenants move in, we will have a representative from the Development Corporation introduce themselves and try and bring them into the program. The developer of the building, while it would be smart for you to be a member of the urban enterprise zone, because all of the supplies and material used to build the building would then be tax-free, aren't required to be.
Thank you.
Anybody else? So no, we'll close the public hearing for this ordinance. Motion?
Second.
Moved by Minaj, second by Mike. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. Thank you. Ordinances for first reading?
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood County, Ocean State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 18 of Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Lakewood, 1999, entitled Unified Development Ordinance of 2005, Article 5, entitled Off-Track Improvements, Section 18-505, entitled Transportation Improvement District, specifically subsection D, Impact Fees, and amending Exhibit B attached thereto.
We have a motion.
Motion.
Moved by Mike. Is there a second?
I'll second
Second by Mayor. Any discussion? Roll call.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
it. Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Second reading and public hearing set for May 4th, 2017.
Thank you.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, repealing in its entirety ordinance 2013-79, found in Chapter 18 of the Unified Development Ordinances of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Lakewood, specifically Section 18-1020, entitled Commercial Uses on Properties with Frontage on Ocean County Route Number 526.
We have a motion. Going once. Ordinance dies for lack of a motion.
Ordinance of the
Three.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 16, Taxation of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Lakewood, specifically Section 24-1.7, Commercial or Industrial Structure Tax Abatement Agreement.
We have a motion.
I'll motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Moved by Mayor, second by Menashe. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. Correspondence?
I'm sorry, clarification on the last ordinance, it's Chapter 14.
Okay.
I'll motion correspondence and any approvals.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the bill list of April 5th.
So made.
Second.
Moved by Menashe, second by Mayor. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. Any comments from committee members?
No, thank you.
Ray, we're gonna get to work on the Memorial Day Parade. We're about a month out. Myself, Mrs. Kay, the mayor's office, are gonna get to work as we do every year. The budget cast, we have a few volunteers to work with the Chairman's Advisory Committee, and we're going to have a nice parade this year.
Thank you. I'm sure you will. Mike?
Nothing, thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
So made.
Second.
Good night, everybody. Safe home.